your thoughts, not your feelings, not your possessions, not even this body. How boundless and free you would be. Pain, hurt, stress, worry. Let the trauma go. Pain, hurt, stress, worry. Let the trauma go. How you feel? Tell me how you really feel. Let the trauma go. How you feel? Tell me how you really feel. Let the trauma go. Baby girl, tell me what's the big deal. You've been holding on for 6 years. I know love is the cure, but you sick still. Can't sit still, you gotta switch gears. Love yourself cause you a big deal. They big mad cause you big blessed. Got a big check. Yeah, don't stress yourself. Protect yourself. Invest in self. Express yourself like how you feel. Tell me how you really feel. Let the trauma go. How you feel? Tell me how you really feel. Let the trauma go. I know you traumatized. You got a storm inside. I know your daddy hurt you. I know your mama lied. I know you wanna find light in the summertime. I watch you come alive. Woman, you're so divine. Like whoa, pain, hurt, stress, worry. Let the trauma go. Pain, hurt, stress, worry. Let the trauma go. How you feel? Tell me how you really feel. Let the trauma go. How you feel? Tell me how you really feel. Let the trauma go. Let the trauma go. Let the trauma go.
All right, y'all. Welcome to Anti-Black Conversation. Today we are having a really cool conversation. It is a part 2 to our conversation that we had a couple of months ago, no, a whole month ago, with some queens in regard to detoxing from toxic relationships. Very powerful conversation that I'll have to bring back up into the feed so that you guys can catch it. So this is our part 2 to detoxing from toxic relationships. And today I am bringing in the kings in order for them to actually talk and to share. So what I wanted to do first is just kind of frame anti-Black conversations. My name is Toni McNeil. I'm the founder and the facilitator of this space. It's something that was put on my heart to launch back in 2020. 2020, 2019-ish, what have you. But it was a space that I created in order to have real conscious, emotionally intelligent dialogue with my brothers and sisters about our own anti-Blackness and how we process and experience that. And so I always frame it with the same example that there are things about me that I don't like when I look at myself, and I need to be cognizant when I am seeing myself through the lens of anti-Blackness. I need to be cognizant when I'm seeing my brothers through the lens of anti-Blackness, relationships, religion through the lens of anti-Blackness. I need to know where white supremacy is interwoven in the DNA and the structure of all of those different things that we have in our environments, in our lives, and our lifestyles. And so this is a space and a platform where we have all kind of different conversations about different issues that impact us as a Black community. This time around, we are talking about relationships and relationships, but in a unique way, because what we realize is that a lot of the times we, as a Black community, we have experienced unhealthy relationships. Historically, we have an unhealthy framework of relationships, unhealthy perspective, and unhealthy expectations most often. And so there's a lot of healing work that we have to do in order to approach them, both men and women. And so how do we approach that? How do we detox in order to become healthy? And are we detoxing from something that is current, or are we detoxing from something that is historically past? So today we're going to dive into some dialogue with these kings. And before we get all deep in it and stuff, I'm going to introduce them. I'm going to have them come off mute because Mr. D-Mac, which now he got me calling him D-Mac because that's what he got on his screen. He is going to lead us in a check-in question just as an icebreaker because we want to see, you know, where these brothers is hanging out today. So go ahead, D'Angelo.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, so just a quick question. This is something that was a popular question over the holiday that I lifted up when I was on this whole random question tip. And so in our check-in last night, as we were meeting, we laughed a lot about some of the things. And it was interesting because Tony won't have none of us as men if we leave eggshells in the cart. So, but the check-in question this morning, brothers, is when the lotion bottle gets low and you can no longer pump the lotion out, do you throw it away or do you take the top off? That's the check-in question. I guess I'll start. I'm never throwing it away. I think I got like 6 or 7 bottles that I'm still patting. You know, you take off the top, you pat that bad boy. Lotion costs too much, right? First of all, to just be throwing it away. But you take the top off, you pat until all that lotion is out, and that's what you do.
Look, wrong answer. He already got me triggered. Already. Bruh, ain't nobody that broke. Nobody.
Okay, well, let's hear. I'm wondering if folks throw away. When you can't pump, when you get to the end of the pump, do you just throw all that away?
I'm with you, bro. I take out the top. I scoop around the sides a little bit. I employ the scoop method. I mean, scoop around the sides, and you got to keep it going. Yeah.
I say you cut the bottom.
You see, Church, you triggered? Church, you wiping your bra because you triggered or what? Because I'm triggered.
Yo, I've been trying to get in here for 15 minutes.
He's stressed. He's wiping off the stress. I feel it, Joe.
True story. I went to my phone. I was like, wait, I'm going to use the computer, right? I go to my Gmail. My computer don't even have Chrome.
Wow.
Oh,
I have to download Chrome. I have to allow access until 15 minutes.
Okay, well, you know what? I need you to breathe right now because I'm traumatized behind scooping lotion and pumping until you can't no more.
No, he's absolutely right.
Every time, I always miss a mess. Somebody what's going on with y'all?
You put the finger in there, you try to scoop, but once that's done, then you cut the bottle, man. I've been cutting the bottle for years.
Cut the bottle.
And once you cut the bottle, you'd be surprised how much all that pumping and slapping you did. There's still more in there. There's still more in there. When you cut
it's like the toothpaste.
Yeah. Same thing.
You squeeze the toothpaste, there's always something at the bottom. When you cut it, it's like, oh, I'm still lit. It's fast.
Yeah, you got a couple more days of
it's trash.
Toothpaste.
It's part of black economics, bro.
And that's all I'm saying. That's exactly what that is.
Yes.
Because lotion, I like, I'm 100% cutting the bottle. And I tell you what, because sometimes I get fancy. I even go to Bath and Body Works. Yeah, I said it. I go to Bath and Body Works. They got a couple sips smell good on the brother. When I cut it, not only will I scoop it out, but because it's like that little tube, you can actually push it inside of it so you can save it. So it's still, the good lotion later on that you come back to it. Look,
he telling the truth. He telling the truth. There's more in there.
There's way more in there.
Signs
you
of
got
a man.
2 more showers to hit up the elbows and then behind the neck. Oh yeah,
Look, Keon Toy is already like, see, she's done with you. When you said scoop the feet,
you got to.
I don't. So I need you to know that I throw it away when I cannot pump. First of all, let me tell you what I do. So
Bath
and Body Works, the fragrant lotion, we turn it upside down, let it get all the way settled, and then I put it in a small container or I put it in my hand. Yes, I do. I get rid of it.
What I'm saying is you don't get all the lotion though. It still be like still more. It's that crevice.
I ain't scooping shit. Let's start it off here. Look, you already got me cussing.
Tony's not thinking about all the ashy kids in the hood that would love to have that lotion.
You gotta get roasted, huh?
About our babies, you know what I'm saying?
You gotta get roasted for being ashy a couple of times, and then you're gonna start flipping that thing over.
Yes, and it started when we was ashy kids. No,
yes,
I've been doing this since I was an ashy kid.
Yes,
I started this since I was an ashy kid on me.
When the crevice of your knuckles is ashy, oh yeah,
get every drop. I can't.
No, man, I've never been ashy like that.
Oh my God. Okay. So men, absolutely. I love this because this is proof positive, y'all, that men process stuff so differently. So, okay, now.
Wait, before you move on, I'd love to hear, the ladies that are listening in. I don't think this is a male female thing. I really think this, like my brother Church said, this is black economics. I got all that lotion at the bottom.
Resourceful is what that is.
Look at Nene said she's getting her money's worth.
I ain't gonna lie. If the lotion get done on the wife, she damn near gonna throw it away. And I'm gonna take her bottle because her shit always smell hella good. And I'm gonna do what we do. It's facts.
I love it.
It's facts. They'd be like,
okay, well, what about Ebony?
It's like this much lotion left for sure.
Is Ebony sticking her finger in and scooping and pounding? What it is?
Look. We have an understanding here. If that bottle ain't empty, it ain't going nowhere. I'm just saying. That bottle's gonna be empty. And if it's a trash lotion, let me be clear. Kobe, it's gone. If it's a trash bottle, if the bottle won't care about, my jump shot's getting some work in the garbage can, but that's not it.
Hey, true story. At this age, we don't even buy trash lotion no more.
Stop saying.
Everything is essential, bro.
Not
for real.
It's travel. It's a travel though, because when you're traveling and you can't bring that whole bottle back, especially if you got that carry on, you're getting a little, $1.50 joint from CVS. Look, don't play me. Don't act like we ain't got that cocoa butter, lotion from CVS in a pinch where it's like, dang, bro, I'm out of lotion right now. I'm looking a little crispy.
Bro, you got to keep the little bottle, right? With its tongue, or just dump that shit out, the trash shit, wash it out, and then make a little one with your good shit, bro. True story.
Wait, Chris,
I like that.
Hey, wisdom in this room.
Hold up. I got
let me say something. Hold on. Chris Cannon, you're more than welcome to tap in.
I'm taking that.
So let me know. Just drop me a messenger. Tell me yay or nay. I'll shoot you the link and you can tap into this one here because you were sharp too. And you primed for this conversation today. And let me see some other women. Flo, she said she hates to leave. What she said on the limb, she said, but sis, you alone. Flo, come on now. I am not fixing to scoop none of the lotion out with my finger. But I think that somebody said it right. Who was that at this age? It was Church. I'm 52 years old and I'm trying to live my best life right now. So there was a time where I probably was scooping with my finger. I ain't gonna lie. But today, Tony, you better know.
Tony, it could be trauma. We should probably be talking about why we because we got money. It ain't like we can't go buy some more lotion.
Hold on.
It's because it's not trauma. It's because we value money. We know not to have it, bro. I'm telling you, I'm not even gonna put my finger in. I'm gonna put my shit in the window in the sun for a day, and it's gonna
let it melt down
right out, bro.
Nah, man, I got spankings.
High science.
Nah, I got spankings for that.
I still got kids from 2006.
I had eczema. Mom was like, "You ain't wasting none of this lotion. Yeah, all this lotion is expensive for you. Mine is trauma."
It's resourceful.
I am mad that we could probably spend the next hour talking about the trauma associated with the dang lotion. Oh, and the eggs. We won't even talk, y'all. We did a prep call yesterday and spent 30 doggone minutes talking about these brothers leaving cracked eggshells in the container and putting it back in the refrigerator. We're not gonna go there.
It's levels to it.
It's levels to it. Yeah, you put us out there without explaining. I mean,
go ahead, explain.
I mean, there's methods to the madness, right? Some of us are busy. Most of us are like our garbage cans are too small, so you don't want to drip egg, on the floor. Tony had a method of like cracking the eggs, then getting a paper towel and then putting the egg on the paper towel, then making her eggs, then walking the paper towel and the egg that's 18 steps. You don't need those many steps.
So I'm doing a test here because there's only one person on here where I get feedback from, and there's that echo. And so right now it's a trial and error. So let's do this one at a time while we're having a conversation. Let's see. And I'm talking. Let's see who it is. Is it DJ Mac? Everybody else stay on. DJ Mac, come off mute. Keon, come back up. Bring your mic back up.
1 2 1 2.
It might be Ryan. Let me see if it's Ryan. Let's see. I'm talking. And I think that I found the culprit. But Marcel, can you please turn your mute, come off mute? I'm testing Ryan's mic to see if it's him.
Mic check.
I think I think it's Ryan. Ryan is echoing like the sun that's shining in.
Is it me? I just took mine off mute.
No, I just took Ryan off.
Is it corrected?
And Ryan, so just if my theory is correct and it is you, so what I'm going to have you do is when you're not speaking, I'm going to have you on mute and then make sure you come off of mute when you get ready to talk, only because there's something with your speaker that's causing feedback.
Yeah, and I want to check it because I have two microphones here. I have my headphones that generally give me better sound, but I have the laptop where I hear my voice goes in and out. D'Angelo let me know that in a couple meetings. So can you hear me okay, audio, like volume-wise right now?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Okay. Your sound and the audio and everything is really good.
Very good.
Broken shells. Yes, Toya, broken shells in the refrigerator.
You good, Ryan? Oh, my mama, I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be the guy that was echoing, man. It turned out to be you. You good, man?
You know what she said? I'm
yeah, checking on you, brother.
15 minutes now. My shit echoing,
Somebody care. Somebody sees what I was going through. I'm over here sweating. I'm like, dang, man, I got to be on mute this whole time. Thank you, brother. Thank you. This is what I'm talking about. Brothers and looking brothers. Come through, man.
Hey, bro, I was about to get on my phone like this.
I didn't want to be the one. Okay. All right. Now let's get in here. Let me introduce you guys to this beautiful panel. Amazing men that we have today. I sent them instructions and told them to send me their bio. And so they all did. And I'm so grateful. She said, just compass the eggshells and stop being unreasonable. Flo, okay, you know what? Flo, I'm gonna need counseling with you. I'm gonna just schedule a one-to-one time where we talk about all them dark questions that D'Angelo threw out and my OCD issues that he was triggering when he was doing it. So that's what we gonna do.
Tony, one quick question before we go for it. Do you cook and then clean the dishes, or do you cook, eat, and then clean the dishes?
I clean before I cook, and I clean while I'm cooking, and then after.
That's why you don't like the eggshells. I'm getting down. I'm about to eat. The food's gonna be done. I'm gonna feed everybody else. My plate's gonna go in the microwave. I'm gonna wash the dishes, and then I'm gonna put the shells back in the refrigerator because it's not important.
Okay.
I'm cracking the eggs and put them in the refrigerator just like that.
No, my children already know they don't eat unless the kitchen is clean. So don't ask me to prepare a meal and the kitchen is not clean.
It's difficult to cook in a dirty kitchen. That's for sure.
And we're gonna clean as we go because you know that's just a me thing, right?
Starting to cook in the kitchen has to be clean. I don't even want to. Right. My wife would I would damn near not be married and dead.
You said in dead.
She's like, bro, what is you doing? I'm like, I'm just trying to eat, right? But what I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna finish cooking and then clean it up. Like, nah. I'm gonna eat fast first, and then while everybody else eating, I'm gonna clean up, and then when they bring this stuff,
okay.
But the shells, that's just too much. It's like you gotta crack, then you gotta do that. Somebody might as well clean up.
And I think that what it is for me culturally and generation. So generationally, I grew up with a mom that she cleaned up the kitchen, she cooked, and she served my dad and then served us. And then, and then she was the last one to sit down at the table.
Yeah.
And because that was the example that I had, and I've seen, I do that all the time. My girls have heart attacks sometimes because Thanksgiving, for example, I'm gonna lift this up. My baby gonna go have fits. We had a Thanksgiving dinner and they brought their friends, not partners, not husbands, but just, friends to this Thanksgiving dinner. This was some years back. And I was saying, we in the kitchen, we throwing down. And so the brethren get there. And I was like, okay, so y'all gonna serve them? And they was like, we gonna what? Serve who? No, mama, we not going. I was like, oh no, that's not how that works. But generationally, that's how I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I serve folks. And then I sit down afterwards. Sometimes if I'm, I'll serve and don't sit down. But yeah, so I'm cleaning up the whole time around. No expectation of the brethren to do that. Y'all different. Y'all been raised different time, different generation.
Well, see, but I don't know. I think my thing is, because it was interesting where Church said that he puts his plate in the microwave. I like everybody's food to be hot. I can't stand serving somebody some cold food, especially if it's like an ingredient on there. Like if we making breakfast, right? You make the eggs last, so everybody has hot eggs. But I'd be damned if I gave somebody a plate of cold eggs because I feel bad. Then I feel like I didn't do my due diligence as the chef in that moment. But I think it's that whole thing too, is nobody's eating until everybody's at the table, especially whoever prepared it. Unless we like starving and we ain't ate in like 8 hours or 9 hours and just somebody about to fall out because they ate. All right, cool. We're gonna make exceptions. But if we're having a family meal together, oh no, we all getting served together. But I also try to clean as I go. But it's an interesting dynamic because not everybody does that. I hate the clutter. If it's too cluttered in the kitchen, I'm gonna get frustrated. I'm gonna go ahead and cook the food and I ain't even gonna eat then. I'm just like, you know what, y'all go ahead and eat. I'm gonna sit down with y'all, but I can't do it. It's just a frustration thing though.
That's usually how it be when you cook, bro. Like that's why I said that, because I usually after I'm cooking, I'm starving. But when I'm finished, it's like, man, did I eat? Put it up.
Wait, look at this. You see what my daughter said? See, this is why we unpacking stuff today. She said, and because of you, Mom, we can't get rid of these same men. I have been warned about that. I have been told, Tony, some of the things that you do now, you can't use those old school tactics with these new school brethren because you can't get rid of them. They won't go away. You want them to go away.
That's detoxing the old relationship.
That's a good one.
Detoxing the toxin.
No, but is my old school ways toxic, y'all?
Not everybody on me.
Like
I wouldn't.
Like that.
I wouldn't say toxic. I wouldn't say
get
toxic.
into the conversation before we answer this.
Yeah,
Let us warm up.
Within there.
I could say a lot on this one.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, so first of all, let's do this real quick. I'm going to so Marcel ain't gonna like it, but I'm gonna do it with each one of y'all. So we're gonna meet the panel. So I want to introduce you all to Marcel. He was like, oh damn. So this is Marcel Cell Block Woodruff. You know what? We got to have a cell block in there, Cell. Is the loving husband of Jelana Woodruff for the last 17 years. He's a proud father of 3 children and a healing justice advocate. When I asked him, how can men assist women in overcoming and unpacking baggage from previous toxic relationships, Marcel's response was, I think that men can assist women from healing from toxic relationships by walking in healed, just, and liberative expressions of masculinity, as well as through being attentive, nurturing, and protective in ways that assist women in activating and trusting the inner healing within themselves. So, Marcel, we're going to start off with you. So in your response, I think that men can assist in healing by walking in healed, just, and liberative expressions of masculinity. Do you want to expound on your response to this? What were you thinking when you actually dropped that as a response?
Well, I gotta expound. You don't like it? You disagree?
No, I thought it was beautiful. I thought Marcel, please help me to not say the N-word. Please help me. Please.
I'll expand. But I think so it's more of a personal thing, right? So I grew up in the 90s. And masculinity was about stoicism. It was about not really expressing emotions. It was about being hard. And that shows up in the relationship in a way where what I learned early on was like, I want you to be fully here, but I'm not even fully here because I can't be fully here in my emotions. I can't be fully vulnerable here. And so how can I ask something of you that I can't bring in myself? And so for me, walking in expressions of masculinity that allow me to be my full self so I can invite her into her full self is what I was going for there.
Yeah. And no, there ain't nothing wrong with that. I like that. And then you said you also assist in being attentive, nurturing, and protective in ways that assist her in activating and trusting the inner healing that is within herself.
Yeah.
And I thought that was poetic. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
No, what were you going to say?
Oh, you want me to expound on that? You disagree with that one too? I got to expound on that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
You get to talk today.
So I think in my marriage, I think the most powerful I've seen my wife is when she listens to that inner healer and activates that inner healer within herself, right? And I can be that support system and that nurturer to let her do that. Because I know what I learned early on was she came out of like those toxic spaces. Like we got married really young, and so she experienced like that boyhoodness where we objectify women, where we devalue women, and so she came into this space where she had like a lot of value for herself, and so I was coming in there like, I love you, love, but I'm in porn, get out of that shell. And then the next day she back in the shell, like, man, how the hell are you back in the shell? I gave you so much love yesterday, right? And so I realized like, all right, that container has to be healed, and only you can heal that. And so I want you to heal that container so it can hold this love I'm giving you. And so, today I can overfill, tomorrow I can overfill that mug instead of trying to fill it up again, So that's kind of where that came from.
Wow. Okay. So the container needed to be healed. And you recognize that you aren't the one that can heal the container, but you could create an environment for her to have the space and the safety to actually heal the container.
Yep.
I like that. I'm gonna have to come back to that, because what I'd be interested in knowing is how do you then elevate her awareness that her cistern is broken?
Oh, yeah, we'll come back to that one then.
Yes. Right. Yes, we're gonna talk about broken cisterns or cracked cisterns. So I'm jotting that down on my notes. Okay, so D'Angelo Mack is grateful to be a part of a beloved communities, a girl dad. Oh, a 4. I love the term girl dad. An ex-husband of 2. And I really I found it interesting because most men don't even, put that out there, right, in their bio, right? And so I really respect, appreciate, but I'm curious as to, why you added that too. And we'll get back to that. A lover of humans and a bridge between people. When I asked the same question of D'Angelo, how can men assist women in overcoming and unpacking baggage from previous toxic relationships? His response was, men can assist women in overcoming baggage from previous toxic relationships by first overcoming and unpacking their own. I've learned that 2 people both coming into the table with baggage supports neither on garbage day. Bruh, this is where we can first begin. So welcome, first of all, to the space. Thank you for showing up and being fully present. And let's talk about your response.
Yeah. Thank you, Tony. Where you want me to start?
First of all, you so I love the term girl dad. I love that. I've never heard it before. But I thought, he said that he's an ex-husband of 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very important to lift up all aspects of life and not run from things. I think that's where a lot of trauma occurs, right? Is that we don't talk about the uncomfortable, or we don't talk about things that are taboo. I think the ex-husband to 2 is important to who I am, right? If I leave that out, it doesn't actually tell you the complete story of who I am and where I've come from. Although those are ex-relationships, those relationships help build me to the man that I am currently. And so I value where I was and where I came from. And it took a while, right? It took a while to really embrace that and really see where God had me in those periods. And I felt it's more well-rounded, right? I knew that there would be people on this call who are coming from relationships like that, who are still hurting from, the loss of something that they thought was forever. And I went through it twice. And I've had these conversations with Ryan just around, marriage and doing it again. I can just tell you, I'm in love with love. I love the concept of marriage. But it's frightening when you've gone through it twice, right? There's a lot of toxicity just in the thought of being married again, right? I was married 10 years the first time, and 5 years, a little under 5 years the second. And there was love in those relationships, but they were not of God, right? They were of D'Angelo. D'Angelo set those things up, and they were bound to fail. But what did I learn from them? How did I grow from them? What can I use to help the next person going through those situations? I am not ashamed anymore. I was, because certain folks will try to shame you of those situations. I wish the best for my exes and their prosperity and growth. But the toxicity piece is real, and we gotta really just speak on it. We really gotta speak on those things in our lives that we put in dark rooms to just leave, because those things put in dark room, we think if they don't have light, they can't grow. The darkness grows those things. And so I like to bring them to light, so that, you know, they can be expressed.
Man, yeah, you said a whole lot, a whole lot. It sparked in my thought. I was thinking like, man, okay, one, having to take the time to do the work, you know, in order to actually heal. And then I thought about the level of emotional intelligence that it takes, that one needs to work to gravitate to in order to do a self-assessment, in order to actually assess one's self, and then put things in the proper perspective. So you don't speak like a man who has arrived to a place where that was built on the backs of others, that you actually have arrived to a place that has built on looking at the whole thing in its proper context. And so, yeah, I really, really appreciate and respect that. That is like amazing. So now I want to ask you, and we're going to get into the dialogue, but first I just want y'all to know who it is that is in this space, because I am surrounded by, and I am a queen for real in her right. So I'm not downing myself at all. I am surrounded by some absolute amazing kings. And what happens when you have kings and queens rocking together in the same space? It is phenomenal. You have that's kingdom building and kingdom making stuff right there. So you said that unpacking baggage, and I think you've touched on this, by first overcoming and unpacking their own. I've learned that two people both come to the table with baggage. Support neither on garbage day. That supports neither on garbage day. Tell me about that.
Yeah, listen. First of all, let me just say I am in the most healthy relationship I've ever been in my entire life. And when I say relationship, I mean every factor of relationships, from parent relationship to child relationship. This relationship has really taught me some amazing things. Shout out to $1 Million Bugs. I just know, like, from experience, when both of you are experiencing trauma and generational trauma, and you're bringing that into the relationship, it's hard for you to assist each other. I came from the young age of church, and respecting women and all of those great things. But the misconceptions, right, that I had going into marriage were real. And for men, and the guys would tell you, it was up to us to be strong, hold that shit down, not, share, take it all on. It's for the household, it's for, all those types of things. And then when, the toxic situations and the traumas of my spouse and my partners came, I was unable to, because I was dealing with my own stuff. So when it was time, when garbage day came and it was time to dump that stuff out, and I was being blamed for other people's stuff or other men's stuff, I couldn't process that right. I couldn't set my stuff to the side, because I had been through some shit, right? And we're all going to go through stuff, right? We're all going to be at different levels of going through stuff. But when you haven't, as a man, dealt with your shit first, it's so difficult to be in a successful, healthy relationship, right? And so I felt like me and Jesus could do it all, but that, that's not true if you're not allowing yourself to be healed, right? Because you're bringing this unhealed, broken, vessel into this relationship and saying, baby, pour into me, I can handle it. And then she pouring into you, and all her shit spilling out of you because you're broken, right? And so I just learned that you have to be in a level of health, right? And that's why, I think I'm still the least healthy in my relationship, and I'm so pleased that my partner is the healthy portion. And it's not that I'm pouring out on her constantly. That's not the case, but she allows me to express where I am, and that back and forth dialogue and being able to feel vulnerable has helped really shape what healthy relationships should be.
Preach.
Woo! One more time. We talking about broken cisterns, y'all. Broken cisterns. We talking about cracks in a cistern. I'll explain that just a little bit more after I introduce the next person. So the next person on the panel is my brother, and it's really interesting. I love all of you all individually and collectively in very unique ways. This young man, oh my God, he is tender to my heart. And I don't even know when or how it happened. I imprinted on his baby. Oh my God, that little chunky monkey, that baby, that's my baby. Oh my goodness. I just am so in love with her. And I am in love. And we need to be able to learn to say and use this language in a healthy way, devoid of perversion and perverted thought. I am in love with his partner. She just means the world to me. And she is like a daughter in a sense to me. And so the way, I don't know how it happened, but Keon, good grief, good grief. This young man right here, I'm proud of him. And I don't even know his whole life story, but what my heart and my spirit tells me is that he is worthy of me and my maternal pride. I am so proud of him. In all capacities. And I'm proud of him for his past, present, and I'm proud of him for his future. I'm speaking that into existence. I'm proud of where he's going and the potential that he has to be great and do great things. Keon Johnson.
Good morning.
Brother Keon has been in service to the community, individuals, and families of African ancestry for almost 20 years. A few of his professional titles include recording artist, poet, educator, mentor, youth advocate, and counselor. He is a dedicated family man, brother, and father. His passions include the arts, and he cares tremendously for Black people and our lived experiences, past, present, and future. He is the founder of YMO, a nonprofit organization that works to bring Black people together to figure out and resolve our issues. When I asked him the question, his response was short and to the point. Once again, I said, how can men assist women in unpacking and overcoming baggage from previous toxic relationships? His was short, sweet, and to the point. We help by being fully present, intentional, mindful, and understanding. Tell us about that. Speak on that. What say you, Keon?
Fully present, thoughtful, mindful, understanding. Those are tools. Those are tools. I learned coming out of, my failed relationships in the past. Part of my whole thing was just not being mindful. Right? So that's something that I took with me forever. Just always be mindful. When you're mindful, that allows you to be present. Right? It allows you to be aware, it allows you to be cognizant of what's going on around you, like with you. And that allows you, being present allows you to move, accordingly. So that's the basis of what that is. It's always, I always try to, in my mind, deduce things down to the simplest elements of what that is. And it allows you to navigate a little bit better. So, because we need assistance ourselves, right? Like D'Angelo was saying, we go through our own things too. And just being mindful that other people go through their own things too. Your partners go through their own things too. And I think just being mindful, being aware, that in itself, is the starting point. It's the starting point.
When do you feel like you started to become mindful?
I'd say at least 3-4 years ago. Towards the end of my previous relationship. And I think my not being mindful cost me, it cost me. And I learned moving forward that, come on, man, it's key. It's key. It's major key.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So I can't wait, like I said, to get more into this. I got one more person I need to introduce. I know he's just sitting there biting and chewing his fingernails. This one here, because
I think you still got me and Ryan.
Yeah, 2 more folks.
Oh, I got 2 more folks. Oh, Ryan was like, please don't forget about me. Please don't forget about me.
I thought you was forgetting about me till you said fingernails. I was like, oh yeah, that's me.
No. So I'm gonna go down and then up. Well, let me introduce Ryan first because his bio is right up next. So let me pull Ryan up. This brother right here, that Ryan is special. He just is. We've been rocking for it's what, shoot, 5 years, 5 or 6 years. Yes, 5 or 6 years. I have known this young man, for sure, and I don't know why God brought him into my life in the beginning. And I questioned every move he made. Like, okay, I don't understand. I don't understand. He has got a very special gift because Ryan, not only is he led and he moves by the Spirit, but Ryan has a way of entering into your space in a very intimate way that is healthy. And I think that it was an iron sharpened iron space. But Ryan, I remember we sat in the car in the church parking lot and laughed, talked, cried for 4 hours or more. And God was just fully present. I had not had that type of engagement or encounter ever with a man that was healthy. And so, man, it was the spark of something that was very, very unique. And I bring Ryan into spaces a lot because, and I pull on him and learn from him. So Ryan McClinton is a Black man, father, husband, son, brother, friend, and relative that believes a healthy and connected community is a big part of a thriving community. His practice is to try to help everyone. Yes, he's connected to win in healthy ways. I asked Ryan, how can men assist women in overcoming and unpacking baggage from previous toxic relationships? And his response was helping establish and maintain a foundation of open and honest communication with agreed terms and engagement. With agreed terms and engagement. Whew. Speaking vulnerable to past experiences while being able to hold space for their or your partner to do the same, and recognize we all come in with past experiences that shape us, and some require healing currently. So I want you first of all, welcome. Thank you for being in the space.
Thank you.
But I want you to talk about this part. Terms and agreements.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's highly important because, as you heard from all of our brothers, we all have things that we come with and work on ourselves that we have to do to show up and be healthy. But I think it's also important that we practice the art of communicating what we need are and what our expectations are and how we can enter into a space. If I know we're going to talk about something vulnerable and I don't have an understanding of how some of these things may trigger you and interact you, I need to know from you, where are your edges? Where are the things where it might push you beyond the point, one, where it's painful and triggering you and hurting you, but two, how do I recognize how to best pause if we need to create space, make sure that I'm listening deeply instead of getting defensive, because I think that's a big part of it, but also model what I would need to communicate back. So where you may ask me something that's challenging that I may not particularly want to answer or feel comfortable answering, but I'm going to stretch into that vulnerable space of answering, I need to know I can be safe in that space to do it. And I need to know that even if we come up against something tough, that's not going to be a breaking point where we're like, well, we're shutting it down and we're walking away. If we was going to do that, we didn't need to start the conversation in the first place. So how do we get to agreed terms of engagement of where it's like, okay, if we're talking about these things, what's the healthiest way for us to navigate it? And if we get to a point where it's beyond us being able to be fully present in hearing and receiving and processing, then we might need to pause and break and just give ourselves some space to get ourselves right. Because I think Marcel said it great. D'Angelo said it great, that again, if I'm not healthy, if I'm not taking care of myself, it's going to be that much harder for me to be in any space to hear what you're going with or navigating. So we got to come to that space where we understand how are we engaging these tough conversations and what do we need after that to make sure that we can continue to move forward and heal each other, so we don't live in the wounds of our toxicity or our pains or past traumas.
All right. Let me get to this next one here as an introduction, and then we're going to dive into some dialogue. All right. The next person that I want to introduce to everybody is, they call him Church. Letitia put up, yes, the art of the pause, the art of the pause. That's all in itself, right? A whole nother thing. Try Letitia. So the next gentleman that I want to introduce is my brother Church. I love this young man.
Talk to me.
And so both of us, we got hood in our DNA. Now, authentic hood, like we didn't go to school for it, Sale. Throwing shade, I know. We got hood in our DNA. It ain't East Coast Keon, so it's West Coast hood, all of that. And we got church in our DNA as well, and so it was just, I don't know. It's like he talks and it's, we have a common language and a common respect and understanding. And when you from the block, it's all about loyalty. And when you recognize loyalty, that's flowing right in the DNA of an individual, then there is a connection that is there that's unshakable. And so I got that unshakable connection with church. I know right now, if I called this brother, that he gonna show up, and I'm asking that you all be careful on how you entreat me, because I would not want him to show up if I had to call him. So, church, he laughing, right?
I'm laughing because it's so true. That's not what they want.
Mm-hmm. He gonna be like, she with us. So church is a loving father, and he is a loving husband, and he is a son, a brother, and friend. He's a strong and well-respected community leader who believes in spreading love and living and enjoying life. When I asked him about overcoming and unpacking baggage, his response was, I believe we can help by trying to understand the pain or circumstances that provided the baggage. Don't judge and throw those issues in their face. Try to show them what positive and encouraging love feels like, while also not judging them, but helping them grow with your actions. So say a little bit more about that for us, church, and then we're going to dive into some dialogue.
Personally, just all of us have dealt with trauma, right? So when you walk into a situation, it's always the trauma that you lead with. It's the only thing we know, right? So I like to tell people life is a learned lesson. Like life, you have to learn how to do things. You have to learn how to be good. You have to learn how to be loyal. You have to learn how to love. You have to learn how to be bad, sad. Now, whatever the case is, it's a learning experience. That's what life is. You just keep learning. You have to learn how to be true to yourself, right? But once you figure out, like everybody else said, how to love yourself, then it's easier to identify the problem in the situation to me. So once you get to that problem and that issue, it's all up to a want. It's wants and what you need. I want to be great. I need to be great. So I see everything in that perspective of view side. When it comes to living and loving, I believe you don't know how to live unless you learn how to love. You can't really live life if you don't love it, right? You can wake up every day and be like, damn, why am I here? Or you can wake up every day like, thank God, another one. I have a chance to be great. That's how I approach everything I do, whether it's my relationship, my friendship, a brother, a father. I try to do everything to the best of my abilities, not what I seen him do, not what I seen her say, not what I seen anybody else do, just my abilities, right? So when you get to that point and where I'm at in life, it's easier for me to process what's the problems, right? Because I actually want to understand the problem. When you get to understanding and processing the problem, then it's choices. It's either you fix it or you make excuses. I lived my whole life with excuses, right? I'm a grown ass man. So now it's time to start fixing problems. And to fix the problem, I had to fix myself, right? In order to fix myself, I had to open myself up to love. And when I opened myself up to love, it's when I got married, right? But before I got married, I found someone to be worthy of marrying, right? And then that's when I changed. So for me, it's being smarter than what you were, right? You can learn something and it'll be in your memory bank, or you can learn something and you can start processing it in the steps of your life. I learned how to be me, right? Not what everybody else thought I was, but me. And me, I'm a lover, right? I'm angry because I've lived in trauma my whole life of not knowing how to deal with it. But I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover. I fight to live. I fight for love, like bro said, right? And once I did that, it just turned me to who I am. the perspective of life for me is just being able. I'm able to learn. I'm able to fail. I'm able to get up. I'm able to fall. Whatever it is, I'm able to do it. So now I get back to the point I made of choices. It's a choice to be better, right? I want to learn the ins and out of how to love my queen, right? Because that's what she is, she's the queen. And to be a king, you have to learn that you're no king without a queen. You're just an individual. Once you become the individual and put it together, now there's an us. Within us, that's like a rock being broken and put back together. You can stop something, but you can't fully dismantle it, right? You can blow a building down, but the foundation is still going to be there to build another one, right? Mm-hmm. So once you get into the foundation of life, then you get into the choices. I choose to want to learn. Everything we did as men, like going back to the eggs or whatever thing, it was a learning situation. What you're good at, what you're bad at. Mm-hmm. I'm bad at so much that it's easy for me to realize what I'm great at. Right. So once I take away all that, it's easier just to walk in my steps of greatness because the left step I can take, it can be bad. So once my mindset adjusted to being a grown ass man and not just of age, it can be different. Right. So when my wife tells me something, it's easier for me to process it because I process it in the shell as a girl dad. I have 2 girls that's eventually going to be someone's wife, right? So what they see and what they learn in this life choice is what I will allow them to see. And I won't allow them to see nothing but what a king should do to a queen, right? So that's just how it is. And that's why I put that in my bio. I believe everyone has their own baggage, right? And I know my wife has her baggage because we argued over our baggage. Mm-hmm. My baggage and her baggage is different. But if we put it together, then we have a garbage pail. We can live in the garbage pail or we can close that and start recycling. So now we're out of the garbage pail on the recycling bin because that's where we're living together. Once you start living for someone else, it's a different kind of feeling in life. And that's why I respect everybody from their bios and what they said. Like bro said, it's 2 divorces. That's a choice, bro. Like you made the choice to be smart about this isn't working. You can kill yourself or you can build yourself. Just because it didn't work didn't mean you didn't learn nothing from it, right? So you took what you learned from that and now you're in a healthy space, but you're only in a healthy space because you decided to work for yourself, right? Once you start working for yourself, not only did you work for yourself, you're a giver. So working for yourself, you're actually working for everybody else because once you become great and everything around you sheds greatness. So now you have a circle of greatness and now you're living in 11 and it just happens organically. I know I'll be saying a lot, but I'm not. I just be getting so emotional when I talk to you.
Preach on, bro. Preach on. You good?
That's all right.
This is my first time on this platform, and it's lovely, but I hate it because I'm a straight cosigner, and I just wanted to shout, and cosign everything through some type of reaction. My brother just preached a whole message right there, just a whole ass message.
You see, I'm just constantly snapping because I'm like, man, I need to do something because I'm just like, man, every time I'm hearing something, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a reaction.
What's crazy is I'm going and I'm like, she introducing everybody. And I listen, I'm like, oh yeah, I see why.
Well, I had to.
I see why, because the game I soaked up before I could even say so. I was like, damn, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, damn, I gotta go answer the question. Because when we did the bio, I was like, nobody did it. I went first. And now they go see Mighty like, okay, this is what she talking about. And I was listening to y'all like, oh shit.
That's why I think Sel needed a do-over. He didn't see how long we could go and all
Well, we coming back. And so here's what we're fixing to do now. And so let's talk about broken cisterns. Let's start there. Because what I'm interested, first of all, when you hear the term broken cistern, so for me, I preached a message on broken cisterns. That was one of the second to the last messages that I preached. And so, man, like right here, for real. Because I recognized that I was in an environment and in a space, watch this and hear me closely, where I was operating as a broken cistern, but folks was gleaming from the cracks, right, in my cistern. So they were still partaking from the oil, the anointing that was flowing from my cracks, D'Angelo. They weren't tripping on the fact that I was broken because they were still able to actually partake. It was enough for them, right? The problem was I never got filled to capacity in order to have enough for me. So I will talk about broken cisterns for a minute. I ain't gonna go into preach mode, but I just dropped a whole lot right there.
You already preaching.
So what happens when you recognize that you are dealing with someone that has a crack in their container, in their system, which means, right, they don't have the capacity to hold what it is that you just poured into them that day. And now, Marcel, you said, you was like, damn, I just filled you up. And it all seeped and oozed out. And now I got to come back and how do you address the fact that the cistern is broken?
Yeah, you asked the question about how did I help both of us become aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
So all I can do is tell the stories of just our relationship. It happened really organically. I think we lived the first probably year or two of our marriage. Marriage is a relationship to our mirror, right? So we lived the first 2 years in this mirror where we're mirroring each other's insecurities. And so what that would breed into was us kind of like getting into these conflicts, and it's like, what the hell is wrong with you? It was about what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And then finally, I realized that I was kind of like, I had this emotional labor that was draining me. Like I'm pouring into you, and it's always spilling out. So I always have to come back, and it's draining me. And so when the question changed from like, what the hell is wrong with you, to what happened to you? Like, what happened? Why can't you hold? Why can't you hold this? She began to kind of mirror me, because you ain't holding it. And I'm like, oh, I can't hold it because nobody ever told me that. I didn't go up with a father, and so on and so forth. So when she mirrored my insecurity back to me, and I realized I needed to heal, she started to see, okay, I have broken cracks too, from this, from that. And let's begin to mirror, like you said, we're both vessels. Let's begin to mirror each other's value as vessels, and really hold on to each other's what we're giving each other, and stop this whole thing about mirroring each other's insecurities, which is a process. I mean, we're 17 years into it, and we're still trying to get it right. But I think it was the awareness of how the relationship was deteriorating us, because we were focusing on each other's like shortcomings and not really valuing just each other's beings.
That was powerful in itself. Just the fact that you shifted the question from what's wrong to what happened. That right there is, that's like, okay. No one has ever done that. And coming from a man as a woman, I am telling you right now, that right there is pivotal. That was profound. What else? What else y'all got to say about that one? It's open now.
So I'm glad he started off when he's talking about we have our own work, right? Because we focusing on sisters, but we got to understand, as a people, we reflect each other, right? We reflect each other. You can't talk about the black woman without talking about the black man. You can't talk about the black man without talking about the black woman. Our experiences are always similar. Coming into a relationship, you've been in relationships since you was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, all the way up until, all those things. You're not with none of those people no more, because for some reason or another, some shit went down. Whatever happened to take place in those relationships are all, toxic points. We identify the language, even toxicity. We're talking about toxic. That's more or less new language, right? That's very new language. So when you look back at it now, you'd be like, yo, well, goddamn, all my relationships at some point, some way, has been toxic. We all show up with it. I think when we get to the point where we, you just become, it has to do with growing and becoming an adult. My uncle told me two things. Two things never change in this world: a fool and a dead man. Right? A fool and a dead man. Those are two things that would, those two things would never change. So if you're not a fool, if you're not a fool, you're subject to growth, right? And in that growth and in that maturity, in that metamorphosis, as we go through life, you understand that you ain't been perfect. You start to understand some things in hindsight, and that dealing with a sister, you're gonna be dealing with your own stuff too. And once you get to a point where understanding that you came to the situation with your own toxicity, your own cracks in your own glass, it's easier to understand that that other person, your spouse, your partner, will be going through the same thing too. And coming from that lens of, that's why I said being mindful and being aware, that'll start to get us somewhere.
Yeah, if I could jump in, I think something that came up as I was listening to Brother Key talking, even Sel, is when we think about, even a broken cistern and like where cracks develop, we have relationships from the time we're born. And every relationship has an impact on us that sometimes we're not even mindful of how we carry it into other spaces. And that deep work of reflecting and really unpacking it and pulling it apart helps us realize, like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that I had a dismissiveness to this over here because of how I experienced things with parents and culture that I came up with over here. That didn't even connect for me. I just didn't think it was a big deal. But given what, and it's the other part of it, right? Like where we look at that part of who our partner is, and that power and that question of what happened to you is when you hear from your partner's experience and what that relationship looked like to them, it informed a completely different reason of how they're showing up in this particular issue. And that's that thing of like, how do we listen to one another, but how do we learn as we're listening? So when I'm hearing somebody unpack something, I'm like, dang, I never considered that for myself. What does that mean if I start looking back and like, ooh, I found something there and I might not even be ready to deal with it, but I'm gonna make note of it so I can come back and visit it again. Because in another conversation, I might come up against one of them hard edges, and I might even be surprised myself, like, why did I react like that, bro? Because it's tied to something else that I didn't address yet. So those wounds that we got to really start looking at of where did the crack develop, it can oftentimes be from something that we didn't associate with this direct issue that we have, but it has very real implications in how we're showing up now. And again, we're losing so much because we're still not addressing it. Even if we get so much of that wound healed, that crack's still there, so there's still seepage.
So relationships are identity crisis.
Say again?
Relationship is identity crisis.
Relationships. No, say it again.
Relationships are identity crises.
So I hear it, and this is so we're practicing even in this space right now, because right now you've got men talking and a woman in the space. That man could say something, and the man can be like, yep, and the woman is like, I'm sorry, say it again. Okay, say it again. Now say it again. And I've asked you to say it again 3 times, and you repeated exactly what you said. So let me tell you what I'm saying. I don't understand.
I got you. I understand what you're saying. So what I'm saying is, once you identify with something, then you can place it into your own self, right? That's when you figure out your identity, right? I can either be this or I can be that. But when you start a relationship, it's an identity crisis because you don't know what you're going to be and how you're going to be it, right? But once you figure it out, it's all when I get back to the want of what you want to do, right? Either you want to learn this person and you want to accept who they are and you help them get to where they want to be, not where you think they are, right? And that's when you start to figure out your identity. So I say it's an identity crisis because when you're in an identity crisis, pretty much you just don't identify with anything. Nobody can identify with you. You can't identify anything, right? So you don't even know what healthy is. How can you identify any relationship with someone and love them when you say you're in love with somebody if you can't even identify what love is, right? How do you do that? So you have to make the choice, to me, in my personal beliefs, that when you get into a relationship with somebody, you have to submit who you were, right? Because who you were is no longer who you are, because it's not only you, it's us. So once you submit who you were and begin to learn who you want to be with that person,
stop talking.
Identity.
No, stop talking. I've told you about this mess. I've told you about dropping landmines and blowing shit up and then just keep going and skipping through lilies and everything like the world ain't just hitting and been exploded and is now on damn fire. I'm sorry for anybody that ain't used to hearing me. He triggered me. I can't even repeat what you said because it just went boom. I was like, wait. Go back. Just go back. Somebody help me. D, help me. What do you?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sal. Go ahead.
When you said the identity crisis thing, what I heard, I thought you were talking about like the facade and like the illusion and the myths that we put forth, like as people, especially as men, and that in a relationship, like you can't be anything other than authentic because the veil is pulled back. So it creates that crisis of who I want to project myself to be in the world and who this woman is calling me to actually be, which is myself, and that does create that crisis and that tension within the self.
Yeah, and then you do stuff like you relate as a black man. Oh, I want to be Jay-Z and Beyonce, and then you see a video. Oh, Jay-Z getting beat up by Beyonce in the elevator, and you like, they ain't shit. They fake. Like they're not fake. They're living.
That's real life. That's real life.
It's like, bro, everything happens. Like what I tell people is. Some people literally like inbox me like, bro, y'all couple goals. No, we not. because I don't know if you're strong enough to identify with the shit we went through to get to where we are, right? You don't understand that it was nights where I was walking down the street at 2 a.m. because she didn't want to see my face, right? Because I couldn't identify that I was wrong in the argument where I wanted to be right, right? So when you say couple goals, you have to know what the fuck your goals are, bro. Like, what are your goals? You want to be seen in a picture and be like, oh, y'all look good as fuck. Not knowing that after that picture, we ain't even talking to each other because we just want it to be that identity that you thought we should, instead of identifying with the crisis of moving on with life, right? So what we do is we try to hold on to something. I can take what Ryan said and I can be like, ooh, I want to be just like that. Or I can take what he said and process it to my self-beliefs of what I have going with myself, right? And once you do that, everything is learning situations. You learn from everything. You don't want to hear it. He's telling you knowledge. So you can take it in and you can process it, or you can just like not listen. That's what we've been doing our whole life. We haven't been listening, right? The strategies for us have been there, right? How to be good. I grew up with a father who had a crack abuse, like substance abuse. My mom was an alcoholic. My stepfather did drugs, right? So what I took from that is when I get older, I'm not doing that, right? Because that's their identity. My identity is going through the struggle. So when I get through there, I'm going to be somebody you can call strong. I'm going to be somebody you can call a builder. I'm going to be somebody who you can call a survivor. Not only a survivor, I'm living. I'm not surviving, I'm living, right? So once I thrive, it's because of what I've been through and I processed it, right, to form my identity. Once I had my identity, then I got into a situation to where my identity turns into our identity. Once you accept R, then the we becomes the I. And once there's an I and a we, when you put I and a we together, you have we, like the video game, right? You don't even beat that, right? But the we can turn into 7 different words, right? You don't even know that, right? True story. If you take we, you can spell we 3 different ways, right? If you take them and you can turn them into 7 different words that can literally be something different. That's relationships, bro. Every day you learn how to be great at what you're doing. Things are never going to be the same. I fell in love with you because of this. 10 years later, you're not the same person, right? So now you have to identify what your identity is going to be. In our 20s, we were toxic, trying to figure it out. In our 30s, we're the shit. We figured it out. In our 40s, we're going to have to figure out how to fucking keep building. In our 50s, we're going to figure out how to fucking keep building. In our 60s, we might be dead, but what you're going to know is they built and they built and they built. So we went from a foundation, like I said, where we broke the shit down, and then we started with the bread.
D'Angelo, what you trying to add in here?
I don't know where. It's like double dutch. I don't know where to jump.
No, and that church will do that to you. So one of the things that I seen you, everybody just kind of shifted is when he was like, okay, y'all looking at the pictures talking about goal statuses and stuff.
Yeah.
But at 2:00 in the morning, I'm walking down the street because she don't want to see my face.
No, that's real. But that's us right now in society. We have this propensity to put out. I was talking to a very close friend who I hadn't talked to in probably a year. I consider him a brother. Most of you know him on this call, and we were just having this conversation. You know, we're in love with each other. I love my brother, but I hadn't talked to him. But I followed him on social media, so I could see everything that was going on with he and his wife and his beautiful son. But you don't know what people are going through. We only put up what we want people to see, right? And so you look into, and that's why it's very important not to focus on what you see through these platforms as what life is, right? Just like Church said, right? No love lost with his spouse, but there are times where, you know, a picture is posted and the next minute I don't want to be in that person's face. We show people what they want to see, and then us looking in we say, oh my God, their relationship is this and that, and it's so great. And then we turn to our partner and say, why can't we be more like Billy and old girl over here? And it's not even reality, right? But what I wanted to say is, you know, back to something Ryan said and then Church touched on, but I guess it started with Sal, is this whole idea of how we get to sisters with broken cisterns, right? Every relationship that we in can be reflective on a romantic relationship, but a romantic relationship cannot be reflective on every other relationship, right?
Break that down a little bit more.
So every relationship that we've had, this is why I said earlier that I'm in the most healthiest relationship I've been in my life, and that's relationships across the board. But all of my relationships prior, with my children, with my parents, with my friend circle, professionally, right, have influenced my romantic relationships, right? Right. And so when we're thinking about coming into a relationship, we're bringing all of that knowledge, all of that baggage, all of those things that we've gone through into these romantic relationships, right? And so we really need to sift through the things that we've been socialized, right? I grew up in a different time. I grew up in the 80s, right? As a 80s, 90s baby, right? And there were different things that went on that I witnessed that I had to take out of my, learnings in order to be, in a healthy relationship, right? These things help us to be in these later relationships romantically. I heard my brother say, we started trying to be in romantic relationships 14, 15, 16. What was our examples, right? Think about what our examples were. And then we took what we did 14, 15, 16, even more so, we took the pain and hurt of those relationships and carried those on for years and years and years and built on that, right? And so when we end up in these serious, committed married type relationships or married relationships, right? What are we bringing from all of these other relationships? I think is the important thing to be thinking, right?
Have you been through like a process? I mean, 'cause you hinted at it, is that you have to kind of unlearn that stuff too, right? You become aware of it, you realize that it's in your DNA, it's in the body. But what is that process of unlearning that so that we can?
And bro, it's a constant examining yourself, right? In my past relationship, for those that are joining late, in my bio, I'm twice divorced, and that's a very big part of who I am. There was the start, of that divorce at the beginning where, you're pointing fingers like they did this, they didn't do that, this, that, and the other. And at some point I had to say, okay, what about me? What is it that I brought to the relationship that was toxic? What was in me that I needed to fix? What was in me that I did right? Right. And so this began this process of constantly examining myself, right? Every day I wake up and I look at myself and say, how can I be better? How can I be a better dad? How can I be a better son? How can I be a better partner, right? And really pouring out and being honest with myself. At times we're so dishonest with where we've been, and it's truthfully because people don't want to know. We're looking around at these men. We are men amongst the community and valued in the land, right? And so there's this already this sense of I don't even know the word, but we've been put in positions where we have to be strong or we have to represent in a way. And so it doesn't give us the time to process where we've been and what we've been through, right? And that's an important part of healing, right? And getting past the traumas that we feel.
I gotta say something, because he, just like what church does, where there's this gem dropped and you keep moving forward. D'Angelo does it, Keon does it, Cell does it. It's something that I think we all got in common to a point. But D'Angelo said it's part of, you have to be honest with yourself. And when you talk about toxic relationships, and I think I've seen in the comments earlier from somebody, the most toxic relationship can honestly be with ourselves sometimes. And as men, we have to learn how to address that. And the way that we start to is being very honest about what we're seeing. And I'll be honest, it's uncomfortable as hell. I don't want to do it. I got 3 journals with me right now, sitting right here, where I've opened up a can where I'm like, ooh, okay, I need to step back because this has just got too deep. And like, I'm literally like having anxiety in my body. Like I could feel it manifesting in a way where it's like, I got to move right now because it's so heavy and so big. And so, man, I don't know what to do with this thing. And I can't run from it. I got to come back to it. But if we do keep running from it and we don't come back to it, that toxicity just starts to reverberate through every single relationship. and it shows up in other ways. And even here's one of the things that as men we definitely get ourselves, I don't want to say in trouble, but in challenging situations, is that we will lean into something with 1,000% good intentions and have 1,000% negative impact, and be pissed off and confused at how I don't get what I'm trying to do this, like I'm doing everything here, and we'll be going in on all the positive intention we have and almost incapable of recognizing the negative impact, because usually, or I'll say a large percent of the time, it's tied to that thing that we don't want to address within ourselves, and that toxicity within ourselves that we're running from or not sure of how we want to engage. And I'll say part of it is we don't have the skills, or we need to develop and work on those skills to do it. But as long as that exists, man, that impact's going to keep having damaging effects. And no matter how much that we're doing, it actually has even more damaging effects on ourselves, because I think Sel said it, that there's this emotional labor that we're pouring in and we're getting dejected by. But it's like you can't even recognize that your own emotional labor isn't taking an impact, because you still ain't, the toxicity is stemming from you. and you, it's a blind scent. It's that blind odor that you just like, man, this smells horrible, and I can't figure out where it's coming from.
What
and the whole
is
time,
that? Who
it's
is
you.
that?
Exactly. You don't smell that? Yes, I do smell it.
It's you, bro. It's you, bro.
So wait. Let me bring Keon. Let me bring Keon in.
Oh no, just saying that to speak on to Veggie back on what Ryan is saying, right? Because in the scope of the conversation, how can we help sisters heal from toxic relationships or toxic, right? But by not bringing our toxicity into it and realize when we are being that, right? Giving them that space to heal properly without us still pouring into that. And again, just the mindfulness, right? That of who we are in that situation, in that relationship, and just being mindful of ourselves, man. Being mindful of ourselves, because then you can't get to helping if you're part of the problem. It's still, again, it comes back to deducing down to the simplicity of it all.
How many times have you believed your own lie?
So let me go Sel first and then Church.
You go, yeah, Church. You're gonna take it somewhere else, man. I want to stay here for a second. I know how you go. Well, Ryan, I know, and D, you guys mentioned something like about the self-examination. To me, that feels like a grieving process, right? Like a part of our growth and getting rid of toxicity is we have to go through this grieving process in which we come to the place where we let go of what we don't want to let go of, and we got to grieve through that, or we accept what we don't want to accept, which is part of that grief, right? So, that was kind of coming to mind when you guys were talking about it. Does it feel like a grieving process to you, like the self-examination thing?
I'll speak to that. It does, because because it's such a attached thing to you, right? Once you get into a habit, and trauma can be a habit, right? It's difficult, right? It's the tearing apart and moving apart. There is a sort of grieving and a sort of pain, right, that comes with exercising this examination, right? Because for me, once you see something, you can't unsee it, right? So once I realize something in me, it's not gonna go away. I always say, once you woke, you can never unwake, right? So once you realize that, you gotta do something, or else it's gonna hurt, right? So yeah, to that point, it does feel like a grieving portion.
And to it being a grieving, to it being a grieving part, that's part of your identity, right? Again, who you've become, and you were comfortable with that, and that pain in that aha moment, we're like, well, God damn it, I've been wrong the whole time. Like, this is wrong, but this is me. Like, I'm,
right.
And then you got to kill that, and then you got to kill that.
Then you got to kill that, Key.
So do you need time? So do you need to be given time, a grace period, in order to actually process that? If we're saying that, so one, I heard you say trauma can be a habit. That's something, look, ladies and men, you better catch that. Hear what was just said. Trauma can be a habit. That's a behavioral issue, meaning that it's a warm, snuggly blanket that I wrap myself in because of the way that it makes me feel, trauma. So address that, know that. But then once you realize then that this is something I've clung to and it's wrong, I need to shift it, do you then as men need space in order to actually grieve through that process and reset?
If I can, fellas, I'd love to jump in. I'm going to start this one. I'd say yes, and I also need to understand or learn what I need to do with that space. Because sometimes space can feel like two things. It can feel, when you know what to do with it, when you understand what you want that opportunity for, it can be the most liberating thing in the world. But at other times, that space can be isolation. It can feel like it's a jail cell because you don't know how to deal with all the things that you're confronting right now. And I think even to that question that self of grieving, I think there's something for me, and this is, I have to speak in a side statement. I know that grieving is a process that I don't know how to do well.
Yes, sir. Speak on it.
I don't know how to do it well.
Speak on it. Most
I recognize when I need to have it, when I'm going through something, and I don't understand what I need to do next to allow it to happen. Some people just say time. I'm like, what the does that mean? I get you. I hear you that time needs to pass, but it ain't doing nothing for me right now. And even in 6 hours where I'll just be sitting there like, well, this time thing, show going by, I still feel the goddamn same way. So what do you mean to do with it? And I've learned that because of how my personality is set up and unpacking so much of how I operate and function in this world, it is hard for me to grieve because I'm usually action oriented to like, okay, there's a problem, I want to address it and fix it. Grieving, sometimes you can't do it that way. So I still have to learn how to grieve and what ways to do it. And again, that space, while it might be helpful, if I'm in a grieving space, all I'm doing is taking up time. For me, what it feels like is all I'm doing is taking up time until that time expires. And now I still feel this thing that's there, and I don't even feel rested.
You know what's crazy? Crazy? Thing about grief, there is no time to it. So that it's a critical space right there, right? And we understand that we trying to let go of something and or we're grieving something, and then there's no specific way to grieve. There's no time cap on grieving. What does that look like in our development moving forward? Right? Do you feel like you're stuck in space somewhere? Time and space, there's no matter. What does that look like? That's a good question right there, Ryan. That's a good, not good as in good, but it's a good space to ponder on what does that mean. Because grieving in death of a loved one or someone passed, that's different than when we're talking about, the grievance of having to, deal with ourselves and cut that piece off or kill that piece. And what does that look like? And where it could show up as toxic in the next relationship is the fact that I am grieving, but we don't know how long I'll be grieving. But while I'm grieving, I'm going to be with you. Ooh. Ooh.
Say that.
Ooh. Okay. So wait. Let me throw this at you really quick because it's something that I've had to tell some of my sisters as we're going to, and then I want you all to address. I've given folks permission, so I dropped it in the chat. If you have questions for this panel, drop it in the chat, please, and I'm gonna put it up there if it's relevant. Because I have the power of the button. But I wanted to say this too, Keon, as you were talking about grieving or what have you. So for me as a woman, one of the things that I do now, I can do it now because I'm practicing emotional intelligence. Let me say that again. I'm practicing emotional intelligence. I haven't mastered it. I'm practicing it. Nothing, you cannot get anywhere if you don't practice what you don't know. So I'm putting it to practice. When I feel like I am triggered and my trauma kicks in, I have had to learn how to first identify when I'm triggered. I have to know what the tells are. I need to identify what my body feels like when I've been triggered, all of that, because my trauma is attached to something that was toxic. Once I identify that I have been triggered, I need to determine, am I going to grieve? Watch this. Or am I going to sit next to the bed of something on life support and just cry every now and again with it? There is a difference between sitting with something that is dead, that you put on life support and you are waiting for it to be resurrected, but it's dead. So I know I just dropped something. I know I could feel it all in me. So,
oh my goodness,
D'Angelo, please respond because I seen it. I felt it.
I didn't finish your thought.
Blew up. Okay. Go ahead.
Finish your thought, Elder Tommy.
So what I have had to share with some of my sisters is this: if you are in a relationship that has been diagnosed as or determined by professionals and all in around you that it is a dead thing, and yet you have it on life support, you're not giving yourself any room or space to actually even begin the grieving process, because you cannot go through a process of grieving with something that's still on life support. You need to make the decision to unplug it, let the thing go, turn the machine off, recognize that it's dead, speak that it is dead. The doctors have to come to you and say, we did all that we could. They died. You have to say it's dead, acknowledge that it is dead, and then give yourself permission to grieve. And when I'm triggered on a thing that I allowed to die and it's not on life support, when I'm triggered years later, because grieving is a process, then I give myself permission and I say, I'm going to feel this for this amount of time. And I give myself a time period to feel it. And usually when I set a time period on it, okay, I'm gonna just go and lay down and feel away. Usually I don't get lost in my feelings, but I give myself permission to take time to grieve when I'm triggered from the memory of something that is officially dead. But you can't grieve on something that's still on life support. All right, go ahead.
How do you grieve?
It depends. It depends. I identify what stage I'm in the grieving process, but first you need to begin.
I mean, responding to the question that Toya put, I mean, how do you grieve? As in, do you just shut down? Because what do you need space to grieve for? If you're in a situation with somebody, you're not just grieving, we're grieving. So why do you need space to grieve from what we're going through?
If it's not a dead thing, I'm not grieving at all. I haven't even begun the process. And that's where, so before we can even answer LaToya's question, we need to first identify and be real with ourselves. Are you attempting to grieve a thing that's on life support? Life support's not dead.
And that's what I was getting to. How many times do you lie to yourself? Like when you lie, do you believe it? Right? Then in turn, when you believe the lie, who are you really hurting? Because if you're lying and you believe in it, then that means you're not growing or grieving. You're just masking pain, right? And then once you believe a lie, if that lie is believed, then that means you think it's fucking true. So therefore, you're going to start moving everything around that lie and blocking everything you need to learn and to do, right? So the reason I asked that question, because sometimes we tell ourselves a lie, right? And then in turn, we thinking we're helping who we're lying to. In turn, we're just hurting ourselves. Right? Because they're not believing the lie. They're believing the lie that you think is telling them the truth. So they think they're believing the truth, right? Whole time they believe in the lie, so they don't even really know. So you got a blinder on this side of their face, and then you open an eye a little bit on this side. So you're confused of why they can't see or feel you, but you living in a lie. Right.
Or you're operating in self-deception because they do feel and see you. They know it's dead. You're just in such a place of self-denial and deception that you can't even hear what it is that your partner or the people that are around you are saying. You can't hear truth. You don't want to hear truth.
Yeah, and then that's when you get to the grieving part, right? So that's what I was getting to. I just wanted you to respond to me. So when we grieve, right, we grieve for a reason. For some people grieve for pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you grieving for pain? Pain makes you stronger, doesn't it? Isn't it supposed to? Ain't that what they tell you? You go through pain. Once you get out on the other side of it, you got through it, right? So you're stronger, right? That's a lie. That's another lie that we tell ourselves we're not stronger. We've just learned. That's all we did. We've learned how to deal with that struggle. So then if it came again, you just know how to deal with it. Doesn't mean it's not going to hurt. It's still going to hurt the same, right? So then again, we put up our blinders and we say we're grieving so we can have an excuse not to deal with something. And then in turn, when we're not dealing with it, we continue to lie to ourselves, not only putting up a space to where we're not letting any growth happen or any positive movement happen. We're just doing things to tell ourselves that we want to feel better. But what's feeling better? Are you really feeling better if you're not dealing with it?
What Aretha just dropped in there is it protecting ourselves. So it could be a form of self-preservation. And so
you can't protect yourself from yourself.
But wait, I finished my thought. I don't know.
this is something that I'm going to need to process for. You dropped just a nugget of golden deliciousness on us right there with the grieve. How can you grieve something that is not dead? And how often do we sit, like you said, on the bedside of something that is holding on to life support? And I think about that in the sense of like, I don't know about everybody in this room, but I've really been taught to lean in on faith. And when is it not faith and it's you? Like when you said, Elder Tony, you can't grieve something that's not dead, and you're holding on, sitting at that bedside. I thought about all the individuals who are in relationships that they know they shouldn't be in, or including themselves, with them relationship with themselves, right? That are toxic, and they're holding on to something they're believing is for faith, right? When the thing is actually dead, but I'm still holding on to it. And that, in my mind, I'm trying to process what's the line between faith and reality. You know what I'm saying? Because I really do believe in faith, and I really do believe that things can be transformed at the midnight hour. I do believe things can be transformed. So when do you give up? On that thing you should be grieving, that's on life support. And when do you hold on? That I'm thinking about our sisters in particular. Most of the time it's easier for us guys to be like, moving on. We move on in the physical, but we hold on to so much else. Shit has happened to us as little boys. Shit has happened to us as teenagers. Shit has happened to us as middle-aged adults, and we present like we're moving on, right?
Come on.
When our sisters, they have the ability to hold on to a thing, right? We have a friend, Ryan and I, who is always talking about niggas. Everybody, every man in her life has wronged her, right? Right. When do we let go? That's the question I have, Tony. I'm stuck in the like faith and reality question.
Can I say this? When do we? And I might be, in the vein of what you're asking, but I think it's important again, right?
Put some alcohol in my coffee.
I think it's important that we be honest with ourselves, right? We talking about decisions, we talking about ourselves, but I want to say that we're forever going to be toxic. Okay, to have a live experience on this planet, is traumatizing. You'll always be traumatized. It don't matter what. Coming out the birth canal from pure innocence, you ain't done nothing but sit in the womb 9 months. Coming out the birth canal is traumatizing. You know what I mean? Throughout our life, from birth to death, we'll always have traumatic experiences. I don't think nobody will ever be fully healed. I think it's impossible. Now we're talking about, you're just Jesus. You're walking Jesus. You're perfect now. You done detoxified. Everybody's, not toxic no more. I think that's bullshit. I think we always going to be toxic, but I think it's important that we be mindful. See, again, that mindfulness is that we go through things. These experiences have real effect on us, and we're going to project it out. The shit is going to come out. It's really about being mindful that this is life. Things you went through are going to be stuck with you. You always try your best to be the best person you can be, show up the best person you can be, but that all these things are, until death do us part in this flesh, you're always going to you have some traces of toxicity in you. I think it's really about, choosing what level of toxic you can deal with your partner. I think it's about detoxifying as best as you can and helping your partner. We can only be accountable for ourselves. We can help each other. We can only be accountable for ourselves. That's all you have control of. You don't have control over nothing on this planet but yourself.
That's right.
You might have control over your children for a certain extent. you know, but then they grow up and they become full human beings. You have whatever control they allow you to have over them, but you don't have no control over nothing but yourself. So when I say kingship, right, we're talking about self-governance. How do you govern yourself? It's not about being haughty and sitting on the throne and a crown. Most people don't want to wear no crown. You got a bear crown. You don't get to wear that. You know, it's weight. A kingship and queenship, you're the lead servant. You're teaching, even though you might have a whole bunch of servants serving you as the queen or the king, your job is to serve all of them. That's a burden. That's a burden. That's not a crown you wear. That's a crown you bear. Yeah. So that kingship and queenship is really about how we govern ourselves.
Yes.
And you can assist. You know, we are, as human beings, we are codependents. We are interdependent. So you can help somebody by not being a burden, by dealing with your own shit. You might give a good word on how to deal with your shit. They might want to accept your word. They might not. Fine. You know, but I think in all honesty, man, none of us is going to transcend into sainthood while we're here. You're always going to have some level of bullshit and toxicity that just is you. It's about whose toxicity is the lowest that you could deal with. You know, who has the least amount of toxicity.
Come on now.
And also, you know, how can you, again, you know, empty out your shit as best as you can to your awareness. When people point out your shit, if 10 people telling you, hey, you're this way, but you never saw, hey, it's 10 people who don't know each other telling you, identify you. You have a problem in that area. You have a real problem in that area. And, you know, the part about being honest with yourself. Once you become that, you're mindful about yourself. You have the capacity to be mindful about everybody else, not just your partner. You know what I mean? We're talking about that in this because we're talking about, you know, helping sisters, but just be honest. God damn, be honest. That's it. That's how I feel.
Y'all see the question. So I put up the question. I've given people permission to drop questions in, and this is a question. Ooh. So Ryan, you want to read it?
Ooh.
Sure, give me that say to read. No, I'm just kidding. Question to whoever wants to or can answer. What has a Black woman done or said to you that made a significant impact on your individual journey of growth and self-love or care? We are our partner's spouse's helpmate, but sometimes we don't know what to do or say to help strengthen our men, and we unintentionally hurt you instead of help. If you can remember what that woman did or said, what was it?
Man, anybody who was broken can never have somebody unintentionally do anything to them. It's impossible. If you're learning, fuck learning, take that back. If you're listening to what's going on and you're paying attention, you can never unintentionally do something to someone you care about because you're not paying attention. If you do it, that means you wasn't paying attention. If somebody's hurting, they're going to unintentionally tell you why they're hurting, even if they know how to communicate it or not. I'm mad at you. You just did something. We have an argument about it. That's why I'm hurt. But you may not understand why it hurt me, but that's why I'm hurt. So what you do is, not what you do, what my wife did for me in those situations, she allowed me to go through it, right? But allowing me to go through it is not telling me what I'm wrong about or how I'm wrong, but allowing me to see that I'm wrong and why I'm wrong. Because once I pick up on myself, and then it's in my corner for you not to put the onus on you to get me through something, but allow me to know that that's something that I need to get through, right? So when I know it, then it's easier for me to accept the fact that you're trying to help me. Because if I'm in denial about something that's going on, then everything you say or do to me is going to feel like a shot at me. Because I'm in turn telling myself that I'm not ready to deal with what was ever going on, right? So when someone comes to help you, if you're dealing with somebody who's emotionally unintelligent and they can't accept it, then what you do to help them is not say anything. You don't do anything. Because once you do something, then you're now hurting them more because I can't process it. I'm not strong enough or smart enough to process why I'm doing this. So what you need to do is give them the space to do it. And if they don't do it on their own, then that's when you leave. Like, it's not for you. You can't grow a man. You can't. You can't just plant a man in the ground and be like, oh, yeah, new man in 10 years. It's not it, right? But you can give him the seeds to plant it itself, right? So what you do is you stand there, right? And you be there for them. When you're there for somebody, what you want and what you need doesn't matter because it's not about you. It's about them, right? So you figure out how best to help them. So what you do is not unintentional. Everything you do is intentional. I want to purposely put you in this uncomfortable situation So when you get uncomfortable, I'm going to make you comfortable, right? How I make you comfortable is I allow you to be you. Don't change me. I have anger issues, right?
You better.
So if I get mad, you can't calm me down by trying to coach me from not being mad. I have to realize that I'm mad and get unmad myself, because then in turn, I'm trying to help myself. No one's ever taken help if they weren't trying to help themselves, because then you're not looking for help. So therefore, you're just dealing with somebody who's trying to tell you something. In the relationship, you don't tell me anything. I need you to show me everything. Actions need to be words. You can't tell me you love me if I don't feel like you love me, period. Right? So if I'm going through something, I grieve and I'm grieving. I'm not grieving. We're grieving. We just ain't doing it the same. So when we get on the page of doing it the same, then you won't have to tell me anything, because everything you do, I'm going to feel it. I need to fucking feel. I'm not a man. I can't do this. I can't do that. When I get into that fucking issue with you, I need you to make me feel good. Period. You don't need to say or do anything. Make it happen.
Well, man,
man. But we get into this circle of life to where we feel like everything has to have something to react to. You don't need to react. I had a bad moment. Me personally, when I go through shit, my wife leaves me the fuck alone. Because I know for a fact in 30 minutes, I'm going to realize, nigga, you wrong. Period. Sit your little sensitive ass down and realize what's going on and deal with that shit. That's what's wrong with us. As men, we make the fucking excuse that everything we went through, my father wasn't shit, my mom didn't love me, my sisters didn't show me nothing, and we make an excuse that I can't do this. You got everything you need. Everything they didn't show you is you realize that they didn't get it. Now you know that you can do it, right? Because you know what you didn't have and you know you want it. Don't apply that pressure in the wrong way, apply it in the right way. And when it comes together with somebody else, they're going to realize that, and they're going to know how I deal with him is how he deals with himself. I'm going to apply that same pressure. So then if he makes an excuse, then I'm going to be like, but that's what you told me and showed me. You didn't tell me anything. That's what you showed me, right? So when I'm doing it, now you're mad at me for doing it, but that's because you dealing with something you got going on. And once you realize it's something I got going on, let me deal with it. Because if I can't deal with it, you can't make me deal with it, because I don't want to. Anything we don't do is because we don't want to do it. So you want to be great, you're going to be great.
Church, it goes back to something that Keon said, and I had to write it down. The whole time you were talking, I was like, okay, so it's two things I can't change then. A fool and a dead man. It's two things that I guess what you said, say the same or don't change. A fool.
Yeah, two things won't change. Yeah, a fool and a dead man. Everything else can grow.
So then I can't, woman, I can't set boundaries for a fool and expect the fool to adhere to those boundaries. I can't tell a fool, and give a fool tools in order for him to change. I have to wait for him to shift from foolishness or foolish behavior and mindset. And if it's dead, it's not coming back to life. And so I can't bring something dead back to life. Okay, so that was it. Nugget. D'Angelo, okay.
Right, but before you go, bro, just let me say this. You can't take a boy and make him a man. You can take a man and make him a better man, but you can't take a boy and make him a man. Period.
All right. Anybody else want to respond to this question?
I see Ryan moving it. You want to hop in here, Ryan?
Well, no, I was going to say, I do want to hop in, but I saw it looked like Sel had something. And I already know you got something that you can add to it too. But I just was like,
go for it, Ryan.
Y'all sure? Okay. I think the thing that was resonating with Church's sermon, man, because Church, bro, I need to get you a pulpit in the streets and everywhere else, bro, because you just be going off. I'm like, I need people just to listen, take this in, write your notes, and go sit back and pray with it for a minute. It's so much in there, bro.
Bro, I love and hate you at the same time, bro. I swear.
Absolutely. But yeah, just processing Sis's question. I think the thing that I had to like just start digging through in the question for myself was that it's a modeling and a doing. So like you said, it's that thing that you got to make me feel, right? It's an awareness and an acknowledgement. I think for me was the biggest shift. An awareness that your experience is not the only experience. And this is coming from my partner or the woman, right? Your experience isn't the only experience that's out there. And then it's the acknowledgement that an experience outside of your own happened, and then being able to listen and process what's happening there, because then that gives space for us to really unpack and dig and dive into it. I think for me, I'm always responsible. And as you know, my brother said, we're always accountable to ourselves, right? And because I'm at times hyper mindful of how you're experiencing something, right? I could be trying to read every sign and everything, right? And you can audibly tell me nothing's wrong, I'm good, right? And I'm like, but every single thing else, your body language, your pragmatics, your energy is telling me that something's off. And either now you're telling me I'm crazy because you're saying nothing's wrong, or right. So I still got to sit with that. That's still on me though, right? And it's still impacting me in a way. Cool, I received that. And when I want to share back that I'm experiencing something, is that able to be received, right? Can you actually make space for that, and can you hold that? I think when that happened, it allowed me to say, okay, there is space for me to actually share my experience. I don't just got to live with it within myself and feel like there's not space for it. I think that's one of the things that as men, we're hyper aware of in a sense, because sometimes the way we've been conditioned is that we have to take up space, own space, or command space, or we need to create so much space that we don't have space. So it's either you're here or you're here. And that in between, like, and I'm not saying this is for everybody. I hate broad stroking things because I know everybody has different experiences. And I want to acknowledge that so many of us walk through life trying to tightrope this experience of what does space look like, to where experiencing our own things is a hard thing to do because we just haven't had space cultivated and allowed for us in that way. There was a part of the conversation where we're talking about those dynamics of like recognizing like how somebody's feeling something and impacting something, right? I think D'Angelo might have said it, where it's women have this ability to acknowledge like I'm carrying something, I'm experiencing something, and here's what it is, right? Whereas men will deny, will hold on to it, right? Like we'll put the facade up that everything's good, but internally it's a whole different thing. And for me, from what I've observed, not only from my own experience, but from many of my brothers on this call, is that somewhere in our cultivation, we weren't really talked to and understood. Yeah, you're experiencing something. You can talk about that. It's you experiencing something, suck it up, deal with it. It ain't that bad. You all right. There's another way to handle that. Matter of fact, you're tripping, right? Like there's all these things that I can't find a word right now, but devalue the experience that I'm experiencing. And now I don't even understand like what it is. So now when I have conflicting emotions, I have an energy in me that I don't even know what to process and what to do with. And that can be interpreted a number of ways, especially when we start looking at, we all walk around with different levels of damage and hurt and toxicity is what Keon said, right? So I think that for me, the thing that really shifted my ability to like go through my own individual journey of growing and learning and development, it's the first time that someone actually acknowledged that, okay, I hear that, I receive that. And I'm like, thank God. Okay, somebody finally heard it. Somebody heard it. Now I can be dead wrong in what I said, and I need that too. And I'll come back and be like, hey, my apologies. But to deny my existence and my experience is to deny all of my being, which then doesn't give me space to really understand like how am I impacting the world and how am I operating through this world. I have to stay in a survival mind state, and that's the worst place for me to be in because that's the only space I know, and I'm not allowed to dream in a survival mind state. I'm worried about the next step. I'm not allowed to provide healthy space because I'm worried about the next step. Or flip side of it, I'm able to provide such a healthy space for everybody else, but I don't understand how to walk in it myself. So now I don't know how to receive healthy love. I don't know how to receive positive space because I know how to cultivate it, but it's so foreign. It's like, nah, bro, I can't trust that. That doesn't feel, I never had that before. The last time I seen something remotely like that, it went left real fast and I got fucked up beyond recognition. FUBAR. No, I'm good.
See, and not knowing how to, and then they would say not knowing how to receive healthy love is toxic.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It is.
Okay.
Even that in itself is not toxic. So again, all these things are practices. We will never get it perfect. We will never have it right. It's about being mindful, and it's a forever practice. You have lawyers who've been lawyers for 50 years and got an agency, and it's called My Practice. You have doctors and surgeons who's precise at what they do, and it's still called My Practice. All this shit is still practicing. And once you're mindful, you're able to continue to practice it. And hopefully you can get it down to a science, you know what I mean? But for the most part, it's just about being mindful and practicing the shit because we know it's real. Because you know, if you're honest with yourself, you know where you flawed at. You know where you flawed at. And give someone that same grace and mercy that you want for yourself when you see they going through it. Your part.
So, Marcel, did you have anything you wanted to add to that, or Dee, before I just take us to our wrap up?
To answer that question that we were engaging earlier?
or just to anything that has been said previously.
I'll answer a question. So I think just to be transparent, as a result of a lot of just trauma and life experiences, I do suffer from traits of a mental health illness, and that causes me to completely detach myself. And so if it becomes a full blown thing, I will completely detach. And what a Black woman did for me was, in that moment of like trauma and depression, she called me back to be present with her, to be present with my family, and in that moment, I realized that my self-care journey had to be really centered on governing myself and caring for myself in a way where I can be present for my family. So it was a Black woman who called me back in to being present in these spaces and with my family and community.
I'm glad you addressed that question. That's what's up.
Me too. And I just echo everything the brother said regarding the question. And I just want to also thank Angel for the question. It blesses my spirit that Black women are still rocking with us, right? Regardless of where we've been and where we've taken them.
Wow.
That question about how can she help her Black man was beautiful to me, because here we are having a conversation about how we can support you all, and she flipped it right around, and that's what our queens, true queens, continue to do. So I appreciate that question.
And that is very real, that you say that, and that you bring it full scale back around to that, because at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is that we are reflections of one another.
We in it together.
Yeah.
We are in it together. And as soon as we understand that, even that in itself could be an antidote to detoxifying us as a whole. We in this thing together. Yeah. You know what I mean? People don't enter relationships as a toxic individual without coming from another relationship. Now we got to ask ourselves how many previous relationships we've been in and left a sister out there toxic for the next person.
I think the truth.
I did. I'm so glad you brought that up. Go ahead, Church. I'm sorry, because I wasn't. It came to mind twice, and then I said, I ain't gonna do
it. We send them off toxic. We send them off toxic. So we have to be mindful that we in this thing together, us for us. We are in good hands, our own, help and be helped. We in this together.
Wow.
The true elegance of our conversation, and the fact that I just left it out when I didn't answer a question. How do you help is just trying. Like, nothing goes farther than you wanting to. The fact that you even asked the question is helping. Like, you don't understand. Yeah. Like, men are so broken to the fact that we were told we couldn't even be emotional. Like, certain things we couldn't do. Like, you had to be the breadwinner. Like, come on, bro. Like, most of the life we lived and been knowledgeable of has been bullshit, right? So the fact that you even try to be there for any man that wants to do better, that's all he needs. I just need you to try for me, because there's nothing ever is going to be perfect. Facts. Not for me, not for you, not for us. Facts. But the fact that we continue to try is how we build our foundation. And the fact that you try is really what helps. Just Facts. Keep trying. Keep wanting it.
I appreciate that. And it's a reciprocity as well. So I've used this example before, and I was going to use it with one individual, but I can't. Over the past, and I say this, and I'm lifting you all up in this space because you all make up my village. And so severely broken, a lot of trauma, and a lot of things that needed to be healed from, a lot of damage from wounded brothers, that I have come in contact with. And so as I was doing this work, Ryan, by the time, you and I met, scared rabbit for real, just terrified. I couldn't even share space, and I'm being very grown up and trying to practice breathing. So y'all shoot positive energy my way while I'm talking through this. It was difficult for me to even share space with men, with Black men. And I have been practicing that, but I've been practicing that. And what has happened is that over the years, I have been surrounded by men who are practicing their own health and wellness. And because we're in this together, what they've done is they've done their best to elevate me, to teach me how to raise my bar, to hold me accountable to being the queen, to making sure that I don't take my crown off, to not settle, to not any of that. And because they have done that for me, I in turn do that for them. And so I then, I speak those things that are not as though they were over your lives. I pull on the potential and the capacity that I see within you in the spirit. I make demands. I'm dropping nuggets to you, queens, as well. I make a demand on the gift, that the God-given gift that is within you, and with a full expectation of you functioning. And then we'll help you with tools or connect you with resources in order to function. But you can't get something out without making a demand. I'd be stupid standing a fool. I'll say, yeah, a fool, stupid, whatever. It's silly to see somebody. You ever seen somebody stand in front of an ATM machine and never push a button or put in a card? That's what it's like, expecting to be in a relationship, but never making a demand on a gift, and a talent, and the capacity, capabilities, and potential that is within that king. Queen. You are not functioning as a queen if you are not fanning the flame and making demands on the potential of that king. With expectation of a turnout.
Yes.
Yeah. Right there. Okay. Yeah.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, we have to call it out of each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to call that out. We have to pull that out. Thank you for saying.
Yeah.
In love.
Simply, thank you for saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In love.
Tony and I know we're trying to wrap up and get to a close.
We're wrapping up here.
There's a question though that I feel connects to this, what you just shared, that you have put in our internal chat, that I do want lifted up, because I think it's part of how do we show up for one another and how do we understand one another. Can we make space to just ask that question and have everybody at least respond to it? Because I think that it's extremely helpful.
Go for it.
So yeah, the question, fellas, is when does a man feel comfortable enough to take his armor off? And
we only got 4 minutes. That question is.
We just gonna pick somebody.
Part 2.
We're gonna go for 2.
And we can do a part. I'm good with a part 2 if y'all want to come on for part 2, because I think that's
I'm cool for a part 2. But let me just do this. I'm gonna be real quick, because I want to hear what everybody else says. Over my life, it's been difficult to take armor off. I've been hurt by a lot of women in general in my life, a lot of Black women in my life, my relationships, and so the only way I can take my armor off is if I feel safe. My partner has created a sacred Black space for me within her, and she has laid the ground and convinced me that she is safe space to come and be vulnerable. And when I say vulnerable, brothers, I mean vulnerable in every single way. There is nothing that I cannot bring to my partner that I feel unsafe bringing to her, because she's created this Eden for me to come and just release, right? And like you said, reciprocity. She knows that it can only work both ways, like my brother Keon said, right? The same for her. And we've created this through being very transparent and very honest about every factor of our lives, right? We're not setting anything to the side, right? I'm done. No, let me stop, because I want to hear my other brothers. We'll come back for another one.
Yeah, there will be a part 2 on this.
You can close it out, man. We got 60
I was gonna say, bro, I didn't mind you kept going, but for me personally, the question has to reverse. When do I put my armor on? Right? I don't just walk around with armor up. Like, who does that? Like, you have to be severely, like, some of us do, like, because we're severely, like, broken in places to where it's like, I don't even know how to fix it. But for me, like, at now in life, I walk around with no armor, right?
Let me make sure I'm understanding you clearly, Church. You're saying that you're not just speaking of at home. You're saying that no matter where you go with no armor on.
Yeah, no, and this is why I'm getting to that. I met my wife 14 years ago, right? When I met her, I had armor up, but it wasn't knowledgeable armor up, right? I just had it up because I was dealing with so much pain and trauma and not enough education on what I was going through as a man, right? So dealing with my wife, it was easy for her to help me because I had so many pieces that needed to be put back into the puzzle that you can pick one and it'll still help me in the way that I needed it, right? But as far as me wearing armor, I don't think I feel safe walking around with armor up because then I can miss something. I can block a blessing. I can hold myself back, right? But when I do put my armor on, it's because I'm hurt. I only put armor up when you're hurt. Nobody cares about what you're saying unless it resonates with them. And it hurts, right? You can tell me, hey, church, you a liar. It's not true, so I'm not going to get offended. Church, you ain't shit. It's not true. I'm not going to get offended.
Yeah, bro. I feel like I have armor on since I was a baby, right? Especially being out in these streets and having to navigate this white supremacy. My armor is constantly up and I am constantly dodging arrows from all over the place. So when I come home, I want to be able to take that armor off and that be my place of rest. And for many, many years, I didn't have a place of rest. I would stay at work where I knew I was attacked just because I didn't want to go home and be attacked there. And so wearing an armor just in general is protective because there are so many so many elements, spiritual and the like, that are out to gun at us that you have to be equipped. And so from a very early childhood, I was rocking an armor. Right. So this is such a deep question.
Yeah.
It's too loaded, bro. It's just
it is. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a nugget from each the others that have not spoken, but I also want you guys to know. So yes, this will be so we'll pick this up with this the exact same panel to just unpack further that is centered around this because I think that we are literally going into another charter territory. Marcel and Keon. And then Ryan, you wrap us up.
You want to go first, Keon?
Yeah, but Ryan, repeat the question exactly again. He said, when is it safe to take off the armor, right?
Yeah, when does a man feel comfortable enough to take off your armor?
Yeah, yeah. Good one, very good one. And for the most part, you only armor up when you're at war. Unless you know you're a walking target. Unless you know you're a walking target, that armor stay on. Right? So it depends on.
Stop it! You just set off a landmine. All you did. Another one.
So I mean, if you know you're a walking target, you feel you're a walking target, then yeah, that armor should stay on. But when you know you're not at war with your partner or whatever it is, that's when it's safe to take it off. But you better keep it near because danger strikes. Danger lurks. Okay.
So,
that shit is there, but yeah, man.
Ryan, can you find one of your journals? You're notorious for going back or put it in something. We got to house this because so you got folks that have had armor on since they was a child and now we're talking about having an Eden that is created, and then you've got folks that have been in relationships long enough to where they're not walking around with their armor on anymore. However, before they got a relationship, they came geared up. And then Keon just dropped another whole thing that said that you only armor up for war. And so now I'm thinking, well, damn, if he's got armor on, then he thinks that he's in a battlefield. And then I got Latoya in the chat killing me, talking about how would one show up for a Black king when Black kings are the root of their pain and vice versa. So I need to hold that right, Marcel.
Toya is the reason why I'm making this face. I just read her.
Okay, and Sale, armor. When is it safe to take it off?
I'll be real with you. I don't have a positive, insightful answer for this. I have 5 Black bodies in my home that are always vulnerable, that need protection. My antennas are always up. I mean, I've had an experience when I was in Africa, when I was in Jamaica, where I felt it come off. But I got bodies to take care of, and we're always vulnerable in society, so it don't come off.
Wait, hold on, time out. I know we're about to cut off. Wait, what kind of armor are we talking about? Life armor or relationship armor? Because that's a different question. We talking about
life armor. I'm talking about this as a man.
While moving in this world. No taking the armor off, bro.
So we're talking about
good.
life
that's
armor.
Good, Church. Because I thought we were talking about life armor.
Hold on. That's it. Yeah, we got to come back. We need to.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know that there was a difference for a man. So I'm thinking life armor. As a woman, I didn't know that there was a difference from a man. The only thing that I asked that when we do come back, I may bring maybe a woman queen in with me to help navigate this space because look, brothers. Okay, Ryan. Yeah, wrap us up, dude. And then
and honestly, the way that kind of unfolded in the recognition that we do need another conversation for this topic alone, all that came out of it, right? Because the question is referencing all armor, not just life, not just relation, like it's all armor, right? Which again, that's the layers, because again, I need you to see all of me. The world only wants to. Let me hit a little bit. The world has dissected me and only wants a part of me in different spaces, and it can only digest parts of me. I'm a whole ass human being. I'm a whole ass black man. You're getting all of this. You ain't just getting a part of me. This is all of me that comes in. And for me to heal and be who I am in my entirety, I need to be all of myself. So that question is largely connected to, again, can you even recognize that I have armor on? Because if you recognize that I have armor on, then you also recognize that I feel threatened, that I'm at war, that I've been at war, and that also when you see these scars and you see the stain, the blood stain that's on this armor, can you understand what's coming with that and what I'm walking around with and what's been living with me? And then can you understand what it takes to start peeling it off? Because guess what? When you've been through battles and that armor survived, it ain't just easy as taking it off. You might rip off some skin with that, and that's going to hurt too, and I might do this. So all of those things are part of that question, and that's where it's like I want us, especially as brothers, to really sit with that. Shout out to another brother, Chris Kuhn, who was the one who I first had that question with, and I've lived with ever since we had that conversation. And I want to give a major shout out to my wife, who's allowed me to really dive into what that question means in my daily life. My wife, Ebony, she's my queen. I know every brother on here is going to give shouts out to their spouse and their partners and whatnot. But for everything that she gave in the last conversation, gave so much to what I wanted to have in this conversation, a conversation that we need to continue to build on. But that's why I wanted to ask that question before we got out of here, because there's so much to go into and so much to pull apart from there. And man,
Tony, so much. Most women are attracted to the armor. And then you take the armor off and they don't want nothing to do with you.
Wait.
You see what I'm saying, D? You see what I'm saying?
Like, that's exactly where I'm about to say. Oh my God.
No, for real, dude, because what you just did, you just said something. I got a sister on here, right? My daughter is like, yo, real talk. I got a sister on here, Letitia. She always say, Tony, you got thug passion. She don't understand, what have you? Sister girl, what you are calling thug passion is my attraction to the armor.
Yep, it is.
I am a queen set up for war. Real talk.
And that's why most men leave it on, because that's what you're attracted to. Because when you take the armor off and the women begin to inspect the scars and bruises, they don't want that. They don't want. It's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to deal with.
It's a lot to deal with.
Hey, that is the word. That is the word.
Okay. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. I hate this because I hate that it takes so long for us to get where we needed to get, but now we're getting somewhere. So we're about to tap out, y'all, for real. We love y'all so much. But we want to just kind of, honor, our time commitment in this anti-Black conversation. But I feel like we're really getting somewhere. So what I don't have to do is use up oxygen space to read bios and all of that different stuff. The next time we tap in, we're going to tap in, check in, and then dive right in, right where we're leaving off. So expect that this conversation that we pick up is going to pick up right where we left off from what it takes. We're going to talk about the armor. We're going to talk about what it entails. We're going to explore some things. There's some good stuff. So I appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate everybody, that showed up. It's just for real. Love y'all for real. You have a wonderful weekend. Hey, y'all be safe out there and stuff. And we will put a date out in this particular chat for those that are watching to make sure that you guys know when we're coming back in order to pick up right where we left off.
Lessons.
Ooh,
Peace, Stanley.
Lessons. Appreciate y'all.
Peace. Love y'all. Love